the world of purpose to unlock the systems and stories of how you can really transform your business, grow your impact without wasting time. Because in the world of purpose, as we all know, there's no time to waste. So today I'm really excited to be joined by one of the members of the Impact Innovator Mastermind, Carol, who I have been honored to mentor on how to grow Carol's incredible, amazing, responsible Yakwool brand for the last 12 months. So I'm going to interview Carol and we're going to talk about the roadmap and the formula for you to be able to sell out in 60 minutes, which I know might sound absolutely impossible, crazy, but Carol has not only done it, she is doing it. Not last year, not 6 months ago, in the last 30 days. So these systems, by the way, also work whether you are making widgets or webinars, whether you are a launch to market business or whether you're a multi-million-dollar company, as Carol is. So let's dive in. And Carol, welcome to the Sarah Simmons Show.
Hi, Sarah, and hi to everyone who is listening from everywhere around the world.
Where are you in the world today, awesome Carol?
I am in my home in Shanghai. That's where my team is based, and I travel between Taipei and Shanghai as I have triplets. So, between taking care of my kids, my family, my work, I kind of have my hands full a lot of times.
Absolutely. Carol, you are a Wonder Woman superstar. You always amaze me how you can be both a brilliant mom and an amazing change maker and an award-winning entrepreneur at the same time. So I'd love to start by really sort of beginning the journey to how we enabled and you enabled Showcase to sell out in 60 minutes by talking about, a little bit about the background of your brilliant brand Showcase. How long have you had the brand? Why did you start the brand? And where were you when we met?
Well, I started Showcase in 2006, so I'm now pretty much in, our 18th year of business. It's been a long journey of promoting Yakwool and responsible Yakwool. And the reason why we do it and how we provide impact is that the owners of Yakwool are Tibetan herders who are on the plateaus of the Western regions and the Himalayas of regions of China. So 90% of the world's yak population, in fact, 95% now, is all in Western China. And everyone's familiar with fibers like cashmere or wool. Now more and more people have heard of yak wool, but when we started 17, 18 years ago, it was very much a rare fiber. And in fact, these days we work with so much synthetics and functional fibers. It's very rare to have a natural fiber that people are not as familiar with. And I guess the question then is why? Why aren't people familiar with yak wool? And simply because it's so concentrated on areas that are 3,500 meters high that it was just never part of the trade. It was never part of the Silk Road. And Europeans weren't using it in high fashion and luxury fashion, and likewise. So it was always there, but it was less known. And so we started promoting yak fiber, and it's been a long and challenging journey because we've had to piece together the entire supply chain from sourcing the yak wool directly from the Tibetan herders to building up the supply chain to connecting with consumers. So we have a B2C side of the business and also a B2B side of the business. For our B2B side of the business, we are the selected preferred yak wool provider of H&M for the brands COS, Arket, and other brands as well. And we also sell to end consumers in China and Japan. So it was with this background of that we've been working, treading along, trying to push forward the supply chain, trying to make a difference and impact, and takes us to the point where we met.
Fantastic. So you are really, so inspiring, Carol. Like, and I know all the innovators joining us today and watching this are also inspiring. When you have a mission, there's nothing, we sometimes wish our life, I know for myself as well, could be so much easier. Can't I just go
Mhm.
and like run a normal business? Do I really need to like innovate this game-changing business? But when you have a mission, there's nothing that we can change. It's in our heart, and we have to go out there and fulfill that mission. And I know for you, Carol, when you began Showcase, it was really you saw that the yak herders, there are 4,000, I believe, you support. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's now 4,000 families that are in our supply chain.
Which is just incredible. And you started with a mission to support those herders with full-time jobs. And as you said, they're across the remote regions of Tibet and southern China. And this year I was climbing Base Camp Everest myself, and I saw yaks towards the top and the incredible species that they are. So
Mhm.
been on a real journey, as you said, because you started with that mission and then you had to build a supply chain from scratch. And then you started selling collections, products, and brands out there, B2B, B2C. So where were you when we met? What had you tried before that wasn't working for you and you knew you needed to take a new road forward?
I think the question was really like, what hadn't we tried before we met, and, in a 15, 16-year journey, I kind of felt that we had tried everything under the sun. We had gone to trade shows, we had developed different types of products, to our different target customers for different markets, and we just had done so many things. And I think, for a lot of mission-driven businesses, you're, for a business in general, right? You're supposed to be solving someone's pain point. You're solving a problem, and people are paying for your product or service to solve that problem, and that's how you start a business, and you really grow because you're meeting someone's need. Oftentimes, I think with mission-driven businesses, the need isn't the end consumer's need because you have a mission and your goal is to accomplish that mission first. So oftentimes the business model, you have that very clear mission, but what's the best business model to actually get you there on the mission is something that you really have to work on, which is really quite the reverse of most entrepreneurs, right? Because you start with, hey, I think I can make money by selling this product and service, and you build your business around it. But impact businesses actually, and their starting point is different. So the journey that they take on is quite different.
That is such an amazing point, Carol, and 100% true. I've never really thought about it in that way, but that is why mission business is struggle so much, because we care about mission first. But in order to make impact, we have to make money.
Right.
So we have to combine, thinking, how do we make this business really scale from the end consumer's point of view, that this business also happens to have a mission. And as you
Right.
said, businesses are taking it, mission-driven businesses are looking at the mission first. And that is why a huge proportion of mission-driven businesses fail, because they look at mission first rather than the end consumer. And my frustration is also with mission-driven businesses that they look at the innovation first rather than and predominantly, rather than thinking about, okay, we've made this innovation, like you've made the supply chain, but how do we market and sell this supply chain? And as you said, you were also thinking about how you market and sell, but the traditional things that you tried, the traditional trade shows, marketing companies, sales agents, didn't work. So before we dive into the process that we've gone through, why do you think that those didn't work, the traditional methods for you and for mission-driven businesses?
Um, I think partly is what our focus on the product is. And then, it was always easier, and especially for me, because, I run a fashion company, but I don't have a fashion background, and when you run a fashion company, people come with a very specific vision of who they are designing for and how they want to style this person. And design was never my primary focus, but how can design not be your focus if I'm selling, if I'm running a fashion company? So I think, yeah, we've gone through different iterations of, and I think clarity is another thing, because in this journey of trying to build together a supply chain, you have a million people, especially when you're an impact business, I think will give you input, because out of the goodness of their heart, they want to see you succeed, and everyone comes from a different background and experience. So some people would say you should price it to be much higher, price it to be like a luxury brand, or your pricing is too high that people don't recognize Yakwool, so you should price it to be lower. Should you be designing for men? Should you be designing for women? And Yak's natural color is dark brown, so should you stick with dark brown and earth tones? Or and everyone has a reason for their opinion, but a lot of the opinions can conflict. And so when you don't have um clarity on exactly where you're going, you kind of don't know how to filter out like all the good feedback that everyone's trying to give you, into this is exactly what you're going to do. And so for us, we kind of like went on this like roundabout journey. Do you sell online? Do you sell offline? Do you sell international? Do you sell, and then in this journey, you burn through a lot of money. And you always have a little bit of results. And I think for us was, we saw a little bit of traction there, but it didn't like grow. And then we would try something else, and then we would try something else. And that was just kind of the journey that we were on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you've nailed it. I think that, my journey in mission driven business started in 2006 when I launched one of the world's first sustainable jeans brands. And it's that journey that enabled me to build the Impact Innovator Mastermind, for the exact reasons that you shared. I'd innovated a new product that was completely sustainable. And I'd gone down the traditional road of going to trade shows, hiring PR agencies, marketing agencies, and sales experts, yet they couldn't sell and market my product because, as you said, it's when you're innovating something new, it's like the founder and the business owner needs to become really, really clear on the core DNA of the company themselves to enable those third parties to be able to be optimizing how they market and sell the product. And no one can answer, I found in my experience, why I built this process, because no one can answer those stories. It has to come from the founder outward, because your mission is inside you, your innovation is inside you, and your mission and your innovation as a founder is what your end consumer wants to know first and foremost. So we need a process and a game plan to be able to get that really clear from the entrepreneur first, and then everything else starts to fall into place. Now, yeah, and that's what the Impact Innovator process does. And it's not something, as you know, Carol, it's not been something that's been thought about from a classroom or from different, people, like coaching lessons that I've learned this from. It's from the hard graft of doing it, being in the trenches and learning myself as an impact entrepreneur, what works, what doesn't, so that we can build a process to get you where you want to go really, really fast. So let's dive in to how we enabled this 60-minute sellout to happen. Like, the first step, let's start there. So the first step for me is always about positioning. So what did we do with Showcase? You were already great. Your business was already great. All I do is help entrepreneurs go from good to great to awesome, to market leader of their niche. And my first step is really that. It's how you go to, saying you're a Yakwool brand, to building that standout market leading positioning. So should we start there, Carol? How did we do that?
Well, I mean, we talked about what was the unique power position, right? And how we could confidently say that we were different from other people. That part always came easier for us because us being in Yakwool and having been in Yakwool for so long, made us quite unique. And so, now we've narrowed it down and say, we're the leading pioneer of responsible yak wool. And I think that we were always confident in. I think where we teased it out more was, okay, yak wool is nice, but along the entire textile supply chain, where do we play? Or do we sell the fiber, or do we sell the yarn, or do we sell the fabric, or do you sell the end, the final product? And in that process, we really started focusing on how do we make the best yak wool sweaters, because sweaters was a category that we knew that we were selling, but how do we become the best in it? And we're really known for it. And that led us on a journey to really further develop out our sweaters, which we had been selling yak sweaters for a very long time already. And we had quite a bit of success in different channels. But how do we take that and really scale it and really be known for it was, what we started to work on together.
Totally. So when you really, I think as well, back to your positioning for a second, it's like you knew that you were pioneers, but I'd say, and you knew you were number one, but sometimes it can be a bit like, well, do I really want to share that with the world? And when you kind of just stepped out and said, this is who we are, what difference has it made for you in terms of opportunities that you've attracted? Like, I know you're in Shanghai for an amazing roundtable event together. You've got all these new thought leadership opportunities. And you've also got like amazing strategic partnerships. Like, what has just really having the, confidence to share with the world really clearly, we are the leaders in what we do. What difference has that made?
I think that there was always two sides to what we were doing. To say that we were number one in what we were doing, that was not difficult. And we were, I've won many awards and been invited to, speak at events, and that has always happened. But that happening and the sales happening at the same time, that didn't happen. So, I had a ton of exposure, in a lot of different media, but that wasn't translating into sales. So it really comes back to the product and the appeal of the product, and making the product stand out, and really being known for not just the impact and the story and the founder story, but also the product that we were selling. Because ultimately I can tell a great story, but if I don't have the product sales, I don't have the money to continue to sustain and grow and scale the business. So I think that trajectory was a big turning point for us.
Amazing, amazing. So you had the positioning, but it wasn't backed up with the actual
Sales numbers.
Yeah, the sales numbers.
Yeah.
So when we dived in, as you said, we started the journey to unlock where's the most profitable part of Showcase to now scale. And because you were doing, as you said, many different things. You sell fiber, you sell yarn, you sell fabric, and you sell finished amazing jumpers that we're both wearing. So what was the process we went through to find what I call your hero offer, which is essentially of any business, your most profitable part of what you do? And as I said, everything we're sharing today, Carol makes jumpers. This applies to whatever you make, whether it's a service, whether it's a business, brand. It's about finding the most profitable part, your hero offer. So what process did we use to kind of help you sell more and waste less?
Well, we looked at numbers, right? We looked at data. We looked at, margins, and ultimately profits. So, we always knew that we sold a lot of sweaters, and especially in the last couple of years with certain channels. But really saying that we are going to make sweaters our core is a commitment, So, being a knitwear company that you really specialize on sweaters versus being an overall women's wear company where you're thinking about a lot of things, so that you have like shirts and jackets and pants, and all of these things that you could also design and you could also go into, then you have to make certain choices. And so then narrowing down to say, okay, well, let's make our number one category, and everyone on the team knowing that this is our number one category, sweaters. If we don't get this right, we're not going to get anything right. So then it's like, okay, well, what is our hero product? Sweaters. And and then what are the other categories that also support sweater sales? So then we said, okay, well, around sweaters, you have pants and jackets. And so then it's like, okay, well, yes, like we sell shirts, but let's not think about shirts. People are not going to come to us for shirts, but jackets and sweaters, that can still go. Pants, like we need to have a little bit of it, but like not a lot. But then we also looked at data. And so it's saying, okay, what is not a lot? What is enough for each category? And so being confident of our product mix and being data driven about our product mix, and then really focusing to say, okay, well, then, within the sweater category, how do we price it? How do competitors price it? And if we wanted to price it at a certain point, how would we need to develop or redevelop the product to actually get there? So it's just narrowing down on the focus, yeah, and being committed to it, and communicating to the rest of the team that, hey, this is our hero, and like we have to be really good at this.
This is so powerful, Carol. Thank you for sharing. I love your the word commitment, because yes, that's what it's all about. Like, so if we're sharing now the formula and the roadmap to selling out in 60 minutes, right? We've already begun sharing Carol's success story, because the formula begins with one, getting really clear on the positioning, which, as you said, Carol, you had clarity on the positioning of what you stood for, and you had clarity on your mission. Where there was a lack was the clarity on the positioning of your brand offer. So the next step we worked on was that, the positioning of what Showcase stands for as a brand offer, and identifying of all the different parts of what you can sell, where your highest profitability area could be and is, which is the sweaters. So that's the third step. And then the fourth step, as you shared, is commitment to doing less, not more. Because we live in an age where, as you said, everyone's got a new shiny solution, a new shiny idea of what's going to be the game changer for your business, or what customers want. But what's really important as founders is to go back to the data, to go back to the analysis, and find your hero within that. And I encourage anybody listening to, whether you've been in business 20 years, 2 years, or 2 months, to start to really look at any data analysis that you've got, because you will find the hero within that, the hero offer of what you sell. This is really what the customers are coming to you for, and it's how you can build the meat onto the bones of your mission-driven business, and how you can really scale the money, which is what we love, because money enables jobs, enables real impact. So we got clear. It was, of all the things you sell, Carol, many amazing things, it was the sweaters. So now what was the next part within really getting clear on, okay, if we're going to build a sellout brand, what's most important? I talk a lot about visual appeal of the entire brand, from, the founder, from the image to the website, to the collections you sell, to the product services you offer. It's all about visual appeal. What did that mean to you when I first started to share that concept? And how did we start to really take Showcase from good to great to awesome using this visual appeal process?
Well, I think for us, we worked on connecting with the identity of Showcase, right? And that is connecting to our Tibetan heritage. And what did it mean? And I think in working with you, we talked about keywords of what was authentic to us. And so, I'm not Tibetan, so I can't represent Tibetan culture. Our team is not based in Tibet, right? But we source materials. We work with Tibetan herders. We source material from Tibetan regions. So then it was about, okay, well, being authentic, what is the modern, where we piece together certain words, right? Modern, Tibetan, playful, fun, and we benchmark a ton of different brands on how they were true to their authentic voice. And so then it says, okay, well, if we wanted to design something that had like Tibetan inspiration but dressed in a modern way, then what would be certain colors or certain symbols that we would use? And like the sweater that you're wearing right now is the fruit of the work that we had done together. And it's really connecting back to say, okay, well, what are the core colors? Where, yes, there are the trend colors, but what are the core colors from Tibetan heritage that we can then connect with? These are the Tibetan colors and these are the trend colors. But it was a lot about how I would brief our designers and to say that no matter who was designing for us, that I think because I'm not a designer and I'm not a creative director, which you kind of forced me to become, and and to manage all of the different partners that work with us, and including our own team. That if I didn't have that laser focus, that every new agency or every new partner will lead us into a different direction. And that had come, and that had happened in the past, right? And so then it was just building upon the same brief. And then every time that we had some successes, we had some photography or model shots or new designs that supported it, that we had more and more what we would define as this is on brand, this is the brand look. And and we benchmarked Brunello Cucinelli, we benchmarked Loro Piana, and and we said, okay, we like this, we don't like this. And in the process, it was really helpful for me to build the creative eye to distinct of this is what I'm looking for. In all honesty, it was a very painful process. But I then, once I had the eye for it, was then able to start training the team. And in this last couple of months, or in this year, really, as we've gone through this journey of building out this visual appeal for the product, I think the team was kind of like, all right, they followed along, they did what they could. But probably half the time they thought I was crazy or like this was never going to work. And just pulling together all of these remote resources. But more and more we started seeing how things could potentially be aligned. But I mean, even just working on your sweater, right? There's 6 colors to this intarsia that, working from the design to the technical team to the intricacies of it. Then, sitting at the knitting factory, our team was there trying to figure out what was, how to make these six colors work on this jacquard. And the knitting factory, the owner was like, you guys are crazy. Like, why are you guys designing a sweater like this? Like, nobody's ever going to buy the sweater, and we're like, look, we'll pay you money for it, and, we'll just give us the first run. Let's work together. But the pattern that you're wearing is so intricate and so hard. We had to do it again and again and again. And our team was like, what are we doing? Like, is this like, nobody is going to buy this like super expensive, 100% yak, complicated sweater, right? But this is the sweater that ultimately sold out. So that's the sweater that, we sold 160,000 in 60 minutes, right? So in that journey, it really built confidence because the visual appeal made the sweater very memorable. So when we started seeding influencers on Red, which is the equivalent of Instagram in China, that this was the most picked sweater. And ultimately, how we ended up selling this in 60 minutes was that we seeded the sweater to China's top KOL, and so she has her own live broadcast channel. And because and just the fact that she even chose the sweater is like a huge endorsement. In my husband's words, it's like being chosen by Oprah, right? Like if your product gets on Oprah, then like there's how you sell there, but it's also the credibility that comes from, oh, you've been on Oprah, and the sales that comes afterwards because you've been on Oprah, right? That credibility. So even to have been selected by her, we were super excited. Like even before the season started, we kind of joked around and being like, hey, we have the seasons of sweaters, and we all drank to it and was like, like it'd be amazing. Like when our sweater gets picked by her, we're all going to go out for a drink. Right. And then that sweater that you're wearing and the one that I'm wearing right now, these two sweaters actually was chosen by her, but it was really because of the premium quality, but also the visual appeal, which also led us to be able to sell this at double the price that we doubled our retail price by creating this product that had a differentiation. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, Carol. So to really summarize this, what we built is a formula for Showcase using this idea of visual appeal. And as you shared, so I really want to reiterate that this idea of visual appeal works for every type of business. I have a coaching mentoring business, and I use the principles of visual appeal for my business. My other clients are in beauty space, food space, retail space, digital marketing agencies. They're using this same formula of visual appeal. What visual appeal is really all about, as you shared, Carol, is looking at each part of your business and really drilling into it. How do we make how we come across in our branding, in our photography, in our socials, brilliant? Because the key that underpins as well the Impact Innovator process in enabling founders to build sustainable growth is our sustainable growth system. And what is that based on? It's based on building amazing strategic partnerships. So you don't have to necessarily spend all your money on ads. You can do things organically. So you've shown how, when you combine visual appeal with a clear vision on the strategic partner that you want to build with, as you shared, it was this amazing influencer and KOL from Red that was your dream person, that was the Oprah of social selling in China. That was your big goal. I mean, for a brand to get there as well on their first season of trying is, like, I'm sure, very unheard of, right?
Yeah.
But what we'd done was we'd reverse engineered that big goal by really taking all these visual appeal steps before it. And how I want to also share for businesses that are might be thinking, yeah, but you're just talking about clothes. How does this apply to any other type of business? So if I share how this applies to, my coaching and consultancy business, I put a very clear visual appeal direction in my social media posts. And this is attracting top strategic partners from around the world who want me to speak at their events, like Feminvest, where I will be speaking early next year, like Accenture, like eBay for Change. Why? Because I'm sharing a really clear brand image out there to the world. And if you think of market leaders out there, like Tony's Chocolonely, like Patagonia, like everybody is following the same visual appeal process, like Cheeky Panda, Chris, who I interviewed a few weeks ago, who's like built a bamboo toilet and tissue brand that's doing 10 million plus a year. How? By this exact visual appeal process that Carol is sharing. So this works across every industry and every kind of thing that you do. Visual appeal is key to stand out. And the other thing that you shared, Carol, is it's not I make it as easy, I hope, that it can be, right? Because what we're doing is we're kind of pulling you apart. We're finding within you, what is your unique brand DNA, and we're putting it out there into the world. And that process of pulling apart and putting you out there into the world is an uncomfortable process, because as founders, as you shared, Carol, like, you're amazingly operational. When I met you, you're one of the most incredible operational people I've ever met. Now, as you shared as well, you haven't been trained in it as a creative director. It hasn't been your background. Now, every entrepreneur comes to me with different, like, awesome skill set. Some may be amazing at finance, not amazing at product, and so on and so forth. But what we need to do as mission-led founders has become rounded so that we are good at all those parts and we understand every part so that we can then, as you shared, like then influence our teams to be able to sell more and do what we want so that the whole business and brand is aligned. And that is where the sellout happens, when all of your brand and business is aligned. And you've just shared it. Your team, the Knitwear Factory, was saying, no, you're crazy. What are we doing? This is so difficult. This is so technical. You know, excellence is difficult, right? Even like, so as I said, mine is coaching business, but to make an excellent social media post, an excellent image, an excellent story, all takes work. But there is a formula behind it. And that's what we built with you. And it's a replicable formula. And now that that is in place, Carol, like how much easier is it for your team to kind of just go and be implementing without you, like designing your next 12 months collection, doing your photo shoots without you? Has that become an easier job?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, because I travel back and forth between Taipei and Shanghai, so I'm not able to be there for every shoot. And for the last couple of years, I wasn't there for the photo shoots. And then it was like, okay, well, how do we align it? So, even the very basic things, right? Like how do we choose your models? And so for the last couple of years, because we were selling on certain channels would give us feedback to say they wanted certain channels. So we ended up allowing our customers to tell us, or our channels to tell us what models to choose. But that model is maybe on brand for them, but not necessarily on brand for us. And what's on brand for us, we didn't necessarily know. So it went down into the model selection, the scene selection, the type of photographer, what is, and for each how we were trying to shoot, for what purpose, and then getting the team to practice. And so initially it was, I was styling, and I was kind of like, if I'm styling, like our brand is really going to a bad place, and like, why am I styling? Why am I choosing sneakers for, why are we, and then it started to align. And so by the last couple of shoots, I actually didn't have to be on site. The team knew what to do. We were just replicating the process. And because we started to have a replicable process, everyone started to build the eye. And we had confidence that, what we were doing, and because it was the same thing. So every time we got better, the whole team got better at what we were doing, because it was not relying on one person. It was relying on a process that we were building together, and that we had walked through together. Yeah, and we had journeyed together. I mean, essentially we were like a race car with like wheels that were about to fall off, because we were charging so fast, doing something so new, and we didn't know if it was going to work. It was kind of a scary place, but in the end it did. So
Exactly. And you, yeah, because your business is seasonal. So, you had to get everything ready for this autumn, winter. And it was like, just do it. But I love hearing the success story of how, your team can now sell and do and implement without you, because I think that it's the hardest thing for founders to get stuck in the weeds and not be able to like their team to do without them. And as you said, I understand as well, like the resistance and the frustration. Why am I choosing the trainers? I am the CEO of a company. Why do I need to be doing this detail? But the thing is, the detail of those trainers, how we're stacking it back, everybody, with remembering that end goal. We want the number one influencer, Dung, to be wearing the Showcase knitwear. That was the goal. So if Dung saw the wrong trainer on an image, that when you sent her the lookbook, she's never gonna want to wear, if she's like, oh, I'm not wearing this brand with they don't have any style, because you really focused on all the details and the preparatory work to present then the influencers you wanted to work with this amazing deck, right? Where you showed the appeal of the products and the amazing brand architecture work that you'd done. Then it was like, yeah, we want this. And not only, that's the other thing with mission-driven businesses. Everybody wants to support you because of your mission. But the really important thing to remember is they won't support you if the product or services are not on par. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that Dung would have always wanted to wear like sustainable, amazing brands, but she's not going to ruin her image if the brand and the product isn't great, because she's got an image to protect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's dive into pricing. So that was the next thing. You said, the team thought you were crazy because you were going to double the price. But what happened? What's the power of visual appeal with, again, a big thing that we do is about aligning the visual appeal with the right partner, with the right client. What has that enabled you to do in terms of your pricing?
Well, what we did was we looked at our entire collection, and and there were certain pieces that just were expensive to produce, right? The sweater that I'm wearing has this like super soft finish that used to be impossible with yak, because yak wool is quite short. And so now, if you guys can see just how luxurious it is, but we had to use a special technique for a finishing or a wash, and that's a lot more expensive. And the 6 color in jacquard sweater that you're wearing, that's also very complicated and quite expensive to make. And so we kind of made a daring move and said, okay, well, certain products, because they're expensive and they look premium and they are super premium, that we will price it that what we think is a fair price. And that price was double of what we were, that retail price was double of what we were selling before. And certain sweaters that were more classic and basic sweaters, we were more comfortable at keeping those sweaters at the original price. But I think ultimately our best heroes, so to our surprise, actually, that even our most expensive sweaters actually also ended up being our heroes, which gave us a huge boost in confidence. And at first our logic was, look, like these were so expensive to make, like these are going to be the pieces that would represent the brand, but they probably, our assumption was that these would be the pieces that represent the brand, the visual appeal, right? The visual appeal that would get us seating with the with the influencers, that would look really good on the websites. But we expected, because it was so expensive, we didn't expect that we would sell so much of it. We thought that we would use this to attract people, but we were actually going to sell more in volume of this middle tier of product, right? But actually what ended up having, the visual appeal was so strong that everyone was actually willing to pay that price and happy to pay that price, and really thought that they were getting a good, premium product. And so actually our most expensive pieces ended up being our top sellers, which actually created more margins for us. And now we're still trying to go back and figure out, well, our core classic pieces, how do we get those to be moving as well? And I think what we're coming to as a conclusion is, for new customer acquisition, that it's these strong visual pieces that really will attract the right customer for us, because they value this and they're willing to pay, and the strong visual appeal caught their attention. Now that we've caught their attention on quality, then for their second purchase, they might buy a sweater that is, yes, it's also cheaper, but it's also maybe a single color, it's more classic, it's more everyday wear. But they're going to come back for more sweaters, and because we've used the high visual appeal to do our new customer acquisition. And for the returning customers, then then they can buy the rest of our range. So that's what we're working on right now to really to build that following.
Amazing. So now we've cracked the formula and you've cracked the formula. It makes planning your next year really, really easier, much easier, because the formula that you've put in place can run for the next 5 years ahead. Like, so next year, you're not going to have to be going, I don't know, why am I choosing this trainer? The team can be choosing the trainer. So let me just go back a step on the pricing. So what's the like USD equivalent of the jumpers we are wearing? What's the price?
About $300
each?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
$300. Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the price of your other sort of basic line?
190, about 200.
So you've been able,
yeah.
Sorry. So yeah,
150 to 190. Yeah.
150 to 190. So this is the other thing about sustainable impact driven, mission driven, you know, it's something that I feel really passionately about on pricing, because people, where brands fall down is if they try to sell something for a high price that just because it is purposeful, mission driven, sustainable. That doesn't work. Being high price just because you have a mission behind you, like we said at the beginning, that's where most brands go wrong, because you will not drive a sellout in 60 minutes if you just put something at a high price, but you haven't got the rest of it behind you, the amazing, awesome product, the visual appeal brand. But look at what happens when you actually combine those three elements. So you've got the incredible supply chain, the traceable supply chain, the impact-driven mission business. Then you couple with that, which is what you had initially. And then what was missing was the brand and the product part, like really elevating that, which is what we saw was the missing gap for you. And we really, really worked on these last 12 months. Now that has enabled you to, I don't like, increase your pricing by, I don't know what 300 minus 190 is, at least 30, 40%.
30, 40%.
30, 40%. So
Yeah.
you've increased your pricing by 30, 40%. What have you increased your profit margin on those pieces? Again, similar, like 30, 40%?
About 20, 25.
20, 25% higher on profit margin, 34%, 30 to 40% on price. And not only that, but you sold out in 60 minutes. So share a moment. What happened in that moment where you were like launching the product via these amazing influencers and you saw the sales happening? Like what was going on?
I was watching a musical with my kids.
Your fantastic triplets and your team were texting you going, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, you know, the day before that, it was just like we knew like we had worked so hard for so long and had really built up to it. That oftentimes in the, you know, in the past for big moments, it was all this like mad rush, last minute, you know, trying to pull everything together. But this time it was different because we had been working so hard for all of this. It was everything was so pre-planned for this first time. That yeah, I mean, that morning I just prayed and being like, you know, we've done everything. You know, we did everything we could. And like, you know, I just, you know, in faith, see what happens tonight. And just being on the show was a big deal. So we actually sold 4 times more on the show than we had originally expected. You know, we had a sales goal with the third party and we sold 4 times more than our sales goal, you know. So, you know, as the, you know, and you know, it was just selling so fast. And because on live broadcast, you could see that, right? And then, you know, and obviously she really liked our product and she did a good job explaining the product as well. But we had prepared so much for it. And then we were like, okay, like we'll see what happens. And yeah, and then it just, you know, it really took off. And we're still writing the benefits from having been on that live broadcast because it just really gained us credibility. But yeah, we were prepared for it. So
You were prepared because you'd worked and you'd gone through all this discomfort to put this formula in place and go out zone and do it. So now it's there and it's done and it's amazing. And those are transformational. They're unbelievable results. The other thing I always hear from founders is, oh, but we're not selling because it's like the global climate, the uncertainty in the world, you know, economic. You've just proven, Carol, that when you have an amazing product, you can sell 24/7, no matter the uncertainty in the world. Not only that, but increase your prices by 30 to 40% and sell out. Like this is the power of the visual appeal product. And as you said, it was that combined with being a mission-driven business. Then, you know, the influencers, the strategic partners love you and they want to buy you, and you've delivered them the awesome product to go with it. So that's the success. Now we're a little over time, but I think what we should do, if you've got a few more minutes, Carol, is talk about, do you have that? Is that okay? Yeah.
Sure.
Is talk about what next, because like you said at the beginning, you know, what was missing for Showcase, you always knew you were number one as a mission-driven business within the Yakpool space. What was missing was the numbers, the sales, and the brand, like the meat, to go with the mission. So now we've got the meet and the mission together, and they're both flying, and you're selling out, and we've shared with everybody the formula of how they can do that. What's that enabled you to do for next year? What's now the plan? You're at, like, if you want to share your revenue, general idea, and how are we on track to now scale you to 50 million? That's what I want to know.
Well, before we get to 50 million, let's get to our 10 million, like our more, immediate milestone, right? Let's become a 10 million business. Yeah, I mean, I've just written so many business plans, and, but in writing the plans, it was like, you can easily put numbers on paper, but the question is, how do you get there? And I would write that, but if you don't know how you're going to get there, having money doesn't help you get there. You really need to be clear on how you're going to get there, and the money helps you to get there. So I guess that's the difference, and now we're working on fundraising. We're working on building partnerships. We're working on growing internationally, and we're working on deepening our influence. We're in the Chinese market as well for our B2C customers, and all of that allows us to build a more solid supply chain. We're now working with China's top fashion brand JNBY. They're a listed Chinese designer brand. We're building the animal welfare guidelines, the first international animal welfare guidelines for yak wool, which lends it greater credibility. And so from a traceability standpoint, from an animal welfare standpoint, and we want to build out the whole product life cycle, and really look at the carbon emissions and all of these things that relates to the supply chain. So we're fundraising for that, and we just feel confident that we actually have a systematic way to scale our sales revenue.
I love it. That's exactly the point, Carol, what you shared, and it's a point I really believe as well, about business plans are a piece of paper, but how do you actually do it? What we've worked on in the last 12 months is the how you actually do it. And this formula that you've now put in place is all there to scale you to 10 million, the next big goal. And then from there to scale you to 50 million, using the foundations that we've put in place. So I'm really, really excited for you for the next 12 months and for Showcase in 2025. Your fundraising, I know you've got people really excited I've been talking about you as well, and I've got people this side of the pond that are really, really excited. They want to know about Showcase. The brilliant thing about mission business and what we're doing at the Impact Innovator with strategic partnerships too, is mission business is a niche, and we're one global family. Like, you're in Shanghai right now, I am in London, but the people who want to invest in mission driven businesses, they don't care whether you're in Shanghai, I'm in London, they're in Dubai, wherever. People in mission, what they care about is the mission. They care about really backing successful businesses that have really unpacked their formula for success that then can scale. Because with Impact, we want businesses that do scale. Like, you want to take your 4,000 herders that you are supporting and scale that. And that is just tremendously amazing. So thank you. Now, I'm going to ask if there's anyone who's listening in who wants to ask any questions to Carol. And I have like 5, really quick fire end questions that I want to ask you. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So what tip would you give yourself as a purpose-led founder today that could shortcut 10 years of time if you were just starting?
If I were just starting, really focusing on the product, right? Yeah. Visual appeal. It is very important.
The product, the visual appeal, yeah. But I would add to that, like, balancing time to, you, like you said, the innovation, the supply chain, whatever innovation you're doing as a mission business is one really important part. But yeah, the product is everything, because the product, the service, and the end consumer, getting all of that right enables sales. So that's a great tip. Thank you. What's the most important lesson you've learned this year?
Visual appeal.
Love it. Love it. And when you look back over this year, what are you most proud of?
The 2 sweaters that we're wearing.
And by the way, I mean, I'm loving the visual appeal of yours. And you know what's amazing? That
Mhm.
this isn't a pattern, right? But
Right.
sold because the luxury, you know, you can feel, the softness of your sweater is just booming out the page, like
Yeah.
that luxuriness, like, yeah. And the softness of this as I sit here in cold London is, and the warmth is just amazing. So I'm proud of you for feeling proud of this, as you should, and all your brilliant team. So what has enabled you, and what gets you out of your comfort zone to do the things that you feel the biggest resistance about, that you don't want to do, but you know are going to be the game changers?
Getting on a call with you.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, you know, I always say to everybody I mentor, I too am mentored, right? Because, you know, like I said earlier, like none of us are good at everything. So hiring like expert mentors that have a game plan, they changed my life. And I love seeing them change your life, and every founder like I work with. For me, you know me, Carol, this, my mission is from the heart. Like, it's helping founders get unstuck who are mission driven to scale. That is literally my number one goal. And I know and relate to what you say about like, sorry, you made me do these things I really didn't want to do. Like, same with me. I am mentored, and my mentor makes me do things I don't want to do. But that getting out of the comfort zone and taking ourselves, getting 1%, 2% better every day is the game changer. And you've showed the results. So last question, what are you most excited about for 2025, Carol?
Replicating success and scaling success.
I love it. I love it. And I'm really excited as well to be here and to support you on your journey. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm really wishing you at your investor roundtable that you're thought leading tomorrow. I'm wishing you like huge success and momentum. And I'm excited. Let's do another live next year where we can update everybody on the next steps of Showcase.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Thanks, Sarah. And thanks everyone
Thank
for
you.
listening in.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for joining, and join in our next show. And, you know, sign up to our newsletter if you haven't already. And if you want to a clarity call with me, DM me. If you want to connect with Carol about investment, DM Carol or DM me as well, and I can connect you. So thank you everyone for joining us. And together we will transform our world. Take care. Bye, Carol.
Bye.
Bye.